The O'Reilly Factor's on tonight.
And I've asked my transition team to develop a list of executive actions we can take on day one to restore our laws and bring back our jobs.
So what exactly will Donald Trump do on Monday when he's sitting in the Oval Office? We've been investigating, and we'll tell you what we know.
We are not in favor of the peaceful transition of power. Trying to stop the peaceful transition of power.
Some very bad people descending on Washington espousing violence. Martha McCallum has been investigating that. Also ahead, singer Tony Orlando defying the threats will perform at the inauguration. He will be here tonight. Caution, you are about to enter the no spin zone. The factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. President Trump and executive orders. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. As you may know, Donald Trump has promised to sign a number of executive actions almost immediately after taking office on Friday, some of which may overturn things President Obama did. But what things? Well, we've been investigating, and here is the best available evidence. Mr. Trump is likely to issue notification that the USA will withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Trading Partnership. That, of course, will rock some Asian countries and put the entire region on notice. Mr. Trump is also promising to cancel restrictions on the coal industry and other fossil fuel concerns. Now for the big ones. Donald Trump is going to do something on the southern border. We're not exactly sure what. James Rosen has been looking at that, and he'll be with us in a moment. Also, Mr. Trump will get specific about Obamacare and possibly suspend some government mandates by executive order. Now, you may remember back in 2009, Barack Obama issued an executive order to close the prison at Guantanamo Bay. 8 years later, it remains open. So executive orders are not in stone. They can be revoked, modified, expanded. Presidents are free to change their minds. One thing a new president cannot do is overturn pardons issued by a previous president. There is some word from inside the Trump organization that the new president will institute a, quote, shock and awe strategy, sign a number of far-reaching executive actions to signal that he will shake up Washington. If, and it's a big if, that happens next week, all hell will break loose, no question about it. So summing up, Americans can expect a wild first week with Donald Trump as president. He'll issue a number of executive orders. Democrats will not be happy with them, and the media condemnation will be intense. Take it to the bank. And that's the memo. Now for the top story, let's bring in Fox News chief Washington correspondent James Rosen, who joins us from D.C. So now we hear that even on Friday, after he's sworn in, there may be some executive orders. Tell us specifically what you know.
Well, Bill, there is going to be a period of time after Donald Trump has taken the oath of office as president and before he walks out to Pennsylvania Avenue to participate in the review of the inaugural parade, where he's going to have time in the White House to sign a number of executive orders. We're told that on Friday, on January 20th, he'll sign a number of them, but they'll mostly be logistical. They have to do with things like making sure that certain members of his family receive Secret Service protection and the like. Mr. Trump himself told us that the big signings will probably wait until Monday after the inaugural weekend, so to speak. And even there was this debate between his advisors, amongst his advisors, on whether to do this shock and awe strategy that you just alluded to, or whether to do it drip, drip, drip. And basically the drip, drip, drip forces, from what I can ascertain, won. Because one complication is that you still have some of these nominees for the cabinet positions who are up for confirmation, and if you go shock and awe on the first day with, let's say, the environmental regulations, that might imperil the nomination of Scott Pruitt, the Oklahoma
so they don't
Attorney
want to anger the Democrats in Congress so that they would take out their angst on the nominees for cabinet positions. I understand that, and that's pretty interesting. But he's going to have to do something on the border. What will that likely be? It doesn't matter what time he does it, but he's going to do something.
Certainly by next week, you will see then President Trump do something on the border with executive action. The problem for him is that whether it is building a wall or immigration policy writ large, or even Obamacare, there's only so much he can accomplish by executive action. He will require Congress in each of these categories to work with him, but there are certain steps he can take. On the wall, for example, he can declare that it is the intention of the United States to build this wall. He can move around Border Patrol agents. He can even start restricting which countries are allowed to send people here through immigration. And that will tie into his campaign pledge to institute some kind of temporary ban on Muslim immigration. It probably won't be religious-based. It'll probably be based on which countries have high populations of Muslims and are of concern where terror is concerned. So there will be some of this, but it won't be as far-reaching as his supporters like. For a lot of that, he'll have to turn to Congress.
Yeah, but he can flood the zone with Border Patrol agents in certain sectors. He can move them around. So you're going to see some action, I believe, next week on that. Then Obamacare. Now, Obamacare is a big deal, and it's going to be up for a vote in Congress to repeal basically most of it. But he can take executive action in what quarter there?
For example, using executive action, President Trump next week, when he's sworn in, can, for example, take actions to limit the number of benefits that insurers are required to provide. He can limit the marketing and outreach for the Obamacare program. He can tighten up when people are allowed to apply for Obamacare as it currently exists. He can tinker around the margins, in short. For the true repeal and replacement of Obamacare, as we have been reporting on Fox News, he's going to need congressional action, and he'll probably get it.
Okay. So summing up, you have a president that is going to come in with a very activist and provocative point of view. And he's going to shake it up the first week or two, and you know what's going to happen with the press. They're going to go wild.
One area in which I think you'll see really far-reaching action by the next president early on using executive actions is the environment. And it's going to be aimed, my sources tell me, at rooting out the influence of far-left environmentalists, not just at the Environmental Protection Agency, but at other agencies where they have gained a kind of a toehold, and that includes the Department of State, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Interior. And that is going to be met with howls of resistance. Yeah. But again, the executive action probably will take effect.
All right. Now, this is absolutely true. Last night, I was reading Rosen's book on William F. Buckley, Buckley's essays about the presidents, about JFK, about Johnson, about Nixon. And it's good. It's good, Rosen. You didn't write the book. You edited it. But I wanted to point that out. And guys might want to pick it up.
You're very kind. Thank you, Bill.
I am a sweetheart. Next on the rundown, President Obama's final press conference. Few controversial things in it. We'll take a look. Then many Americans are outraged that an Army private sentenced to more than 30 years in prison for espionage has been granted clemency by Barack Obama. Senator John McCain will weigh in on that. Upcoming. In back segment tonight, President Obama's final press conference this afternoon. As usual, the president was philosophical, very deliberate in what he says. It was not a fast-paced experience. One of the few news-breaking questions was on Democratic congresspeople who are boycotting the inauguration.
With respect to the inauguration, I'm not going to comment on those issues. All I know is I'm going to be there. So is Michelle. And I have been checking the weather, and I'm heartened by the fact that it won't be as cold as my first inauguration, because that was cold.
So the president dodged on his way out the door. Here now to analyze for Roldo Rivera and Eric Bolling. I was disappointing to me. I think the president had an opportunity there to say, you know what, this is a real important day for America. It has been since George Washington handed power to John Adams. And I disagree with my colleagues in the party.
In the House, yeah, the smooth transition of power, yeah, that was a great opportunity, but he chose not to. It's worth noting that all of them are House members. None of the Senate has done this. Remember, people who are elected to office represent both parties. They don't just represent the people who voted for them. Districts put 700,000 per district. There's got to be a good percentage of almost every district.
Let's keep it on President Obama.
Okay, so he's going to walk out of that office as the least effective president in modern history.
Let's not.
Bill,
Let's
1,227
keep it on
bills to
him
laws.
and this dodge. What do you say?
I disagree with both of you. I think that the president's appearance there, along with the First Lady, just as Hillary Clinton's appearance, along with her husband, the former President Bill Clinton, that's enough to signal to the nation, to the world, that there is a peaceful transition of power.
But he had a chance to reinforce.
Both sides could have reached out to each other and compromised.
I don't care about reaching
election.
out. Just like it. Why did the man not take the opportunity to promote what is a proud day in American history? Why?
He speaks for himself, the president, the 44th president of the United States. He will be there. He has done everything in his power to make a smooth transition. He has confirmed the peaceful transition as enshrined in the Constitution. To ask him to do more is to be part of it.
He dodged it because he's going to be one of them. He's going to be one of those people who are boycotting the inauguration in 48 hours or 44 hours from now. He's going to say, look, I'm one of you now. I'm the one who
that to me is extremely disappointing. But you have to recognize the president has a different role than commentators.
Listen, you said that to say anything else is partisan. I disagree. Barack Obama is a leader in this country and will remain such, all right, even after he leaves the White House.
He's only 55.
He's a leader. Okay? He dodged a question that he should not have dodged, and Winston Churchill would not have dodged that question.
I'm not so sure about that. I've seen Winston Churchill on the floor of the House.
He had to make a decision. He had to pick a side.
That was another example of poor leadership. Now, there is controversy about President Obama staying in Washington. Some people feel he might set a shadow government up and undermine Donald Trump. He was asked about today, will he speak out about issues? Roll it.
Efforts to round up kids who have grown up here and for all practical purposes are American kids and send them someplace else. When they love this country, the notion that we would just arbitrarily or because of politics punish those kids when they didn't do anything wrong themselves, I think would be something that would merit me speaking out.
Now, nobody thinks it's going to happen. Nobody thinks there's going to be any roundup of the what so-called dreamers. George W. Bush never said anything about Obama. I mean, never. I can't remember. Can you guys remember any kind of criticism that he lodged? And you know there were some things that President Obama did that were, driving him crazy. Dick Cheney, the vice president, he did say a few times, particularly on foreign aid. Now, is it legitimate for a former president, now living just a few blocks away from the White House, to weigh in on something like that?
Since the election, but particularly in the last couple of weeks, I have gone out of my way to show the president-elect, the 45th President of the United States, that I support him without reservation. I have embraced him. I have publicly stated that, I want to give Donald Trump a chance to be a great president, because if he's a great president, then the country prospers. But if my friend, with whom I spent a nice time last week, were to begin a deportation force to round up those children.
Speak out as a commentator.
I would have a hunger strike outside Trump Tower.
You're not a former president. There's a difference.
There are some things when the 60-odd troublemakers in the House, and they don't represent multifaceted districts. Those are all safe districts. Those are districts where they'll get elected forever and ever. When they make a political stand, that's politics. But when you start deporting essentially American children who happen to be
you would be okay
overseas,
with President Obama stepping up then and criticizing?
In that particular instance, I am relieved.
But you see what we're doing here. We're talking about what's the post-president Obama, what's he going to do post-presidency? He's said it. He's said as much as he will be back to organizing again. And what he can do now is he can go after the base. He can get the pure leftist ideologues. Geraldo, Donald Trump backed off his deportation force. He said he's not going to do that.
Yeah, nobody
unequivocally.
expects
no,
him to do
and
that.
so to even bring that up tells you.
but I mean,
From
look,
your lips to the president-elect.
They asked him what
But he, you know what he could have
circumstances,
done,
and I
Bill?
think that was
he could have done what
illegitimate.
you do when you don't like the answer. When you, as you call it, pedestrian commentary comes out, you dismiss it immediately. President Obama didn't dismiss it immediately. Geraldo didn't dismiss it. The both of you talked about a deportation force when we know Donald Trump is not.
You minimize the real fear. These children live in terror right now, Eric.
But he
And even
said
you
that's
can
not
have a
going to
soul
be the
for
case.
these children, teenagers who've been here forever.
So, generally speaking, it would be a bad thing if Barack Obama set up a shadow government. You agree with
I agree, and I doubt it will happen.
And you agree?
I don't think it should have the government. It'll be certainly a massive movement, organic movement of Obama think-alikes.
Here's the organic movement, okay? He's going to go out and give speeches for $250,000
At least,
pop,
I hope.
all right? And he doesn't care who's in there as long as you get the $250,000, all right? You're going to write a book, and the book is going to be Why I'm the Greatest President Ever, all right? And I may co-write it with him. That's a joke. And then he's going to do some teaching. He'll associate himself with Harvard or one of them.
You know what else he'll do is he'll raise $8 gazillion in some sort of foundation that'll make the Clinton Foundation look like.
Well,
small,
that'd be interesting
small
if he
potatoes.
opens a foundation. I don't think he's going to do that. Gentlemen, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Yeah. Directly ahead, the president did address the Chelsea Manning pardon. Senator John McCain didn't like what he said. Then later, Miller wants to talk about the inauguration. That could be trouble as the factor forges ahead. Back to follow-up tonight, Private Chelsea Manning, who used to be Bradley Manning, is serving 35 years at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, convicted of multiple charges under the Espionage Act. Manning leaked hundreds of thousands of documents to WikiLeaks, some of which put people in physical danger in places like Afghanistan and Iraq. Yesterday, the president commuted Manning's sentence.
The sentence that she received was very disproportionate relative to what other leakers had received, and that she had served a significant amount of time, that it made sense to commute.
Private Manning will be released in a few months. And joining us now from Washington, Senator John McCain. So your reaction to the commutation?
Rage, frustration, and sorrow. Sorrow for the families of those individuals who are identified in these leaks in Afghanistan that the Taliban went after and murdered. And rage because this president is basically endorsing a proposal that allows someone to go free who's responsible for the needless deaths of those people who are allies. What do you say to their families, Bill?
How do you know that Manning's leaks directly led to a person's death? Did you get reports that they
got reports of that the Taliban went after the people that were identified in these reports. And by the way, why wouldn't they?
Sure. I mean, I just want to know if there were specific leaks that came to you as a senator, which showed that what WikiLeaks did with Manning's help killed people that were helping the USA. Now,
let me be specific. That the information I received when I was there was that the Taliban went after these people. I assume killed them.
Okay. Now, I guess Manning has served 7 years, something like that, and then President Obama says, well, that's enough. I mean, that's commiserate with what she did.
Well, of course, that's outrageous. What is more egregious than providing the enemy with information that would help them, which over time then puts the lives of the men and women serving in uniform in greater danger? And is there any argument that anyone could have that WikiLeaks didn't do that?
So you believe that the president is misguided in his sympathies here. Do you think it has anything to do with the private being transgendered?
I have no idea what the motivation is. I understand that there was a lot of people who were arguing for this commutation, but I can't expect, I would expect any commander-in-chief before commuting the sentence of someone of this nature would consult with our military leaders.
Well,
you think that he called up the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and
Ash
said, hey,
Carter didn't
what do
want
you think
it.
about this?
You know, his own Secretary of Defense said don't do it. So he did consult, but he
nor
didn't
did any of our
Right.
nor did any of our military
All right.
leaders.
Friday, Trump becomes president. You and he have a strained relationship. Have you spoken with him since he won the election?
I've spoken to him twice, and both times it was about appointments. And by the way, I have a very good and strong relationship with the Vice President-elect, with General Mattis, with General Kelly, with General Flynn. There's a lot of people around the Vice President-elect, as I mentioned, and so I've been talking with them a lot, Reince Priebus as well, about appointments. We just got legislation passed today so that we can confirm General Mattis as Secretary of Defense right after the inauguration, immediately the same day. So we've been working some areas together.
Okay. The big difference between you and Donald Trump at this point is Russia. Do you feel you're going to be able to convince him to take a harder line against Putin?
I certainly hope others around him can. I know how General Mattis feels. I know how General Flynn feels. I know how even Mr. Tillerson feels. Look, we cannot reward misbehavior. We have to go back to Ronald Reagan, peace through strength, get strong, and then deal with them. And that way is the only way we can get
So
their
if he
attention.
lifts sanctions, if Trump lifts sanctions, you're not going to be real pleased.
I'm going to be deeply, deeply disappointed. And by the way, so are all the people in the Baltic countries and in Ukraine and in Georgia that right now are under the threat of military action by Vladimir Putin.
Okay, finally, the boycott is not extended to the Senate. There are congresspeople, as you know, dozens of them, the Democrats not showing up to the inauguration. But the Senate has held. Why is that? Why aren't the senators, the Democratic senators, some of them far left, why aren't they boycotting?
Well, I say with typical Senate snobbery, we are not like them.
They're the school kids, you're the professors, right?
Yeah, I think that they have smaller constituencies and more narrow constituencies. My colleagues, in some cases, represent millions of people, and so I think they are respecting the peaceful transition of power, which has characterized the most successful experiment in democracy in history.
All right. Senator, we always appreciate it. Thanks very much. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. One of the few known entertainers performing Friday in Washington is Tony Orlando. He will be here. And Miller with some thoughts on the inauguration. Also, Martha McCallum on threats of violence as Donald Trump is sworn in. We'll hope you stay tuned for those reports. Unresolved Problem segment tonight, as everybody knows, few name entertainers want anything to do with the presidential inauguration on Friday. An exception, singer Tony Orlando, who will perform at the Armed Services Ball, a party exclusively for vets and their families. Mr. Orlando joins us now from Springfield, Missouri. So what do you think about this whole controversy on the inauguration?
Well, it saddens me, Bill, to be quite honestly. I guess I come from an old-fashioned frame of mind, maybe back when America was great, because I have a red, white, and blue state of mind. Not a red state, not a blue state, but a red, white, and blue state of mind. It just saddens me to see that this country is being torn apart when at a moment in time we're about to see a transition of power. Hillary Clinton is going to be there. Bill Clinton is going to be there. Barack Obama is going to be there. The Bushes are going to be there. And it just kills me to see this. I believe it's my patriotic duty, Bill, when the president-elect asked me to come and work and sing for the armed services that I've worked hard for the last 43 years. I've spent my whole career working on behalf of veterans, as you know. And if President-elect said, I think Tony's the right performer for the Armed Services Inaugural Ball, what an honor.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't see any...
You've done things for the Democrats. It's not political with you. You're honoring the vets by going to their ball. Have you gotten any blowback? Anybody criticize you?
Probably tomorrow morning after being with you, I will.
Because, you know,
but the truth is, Bill,
a lot of entertainers, you know, once they signed on, they got hammered. I don't expect you to get hammered because you're doing the vets. It's a targeted thing. I don't expect a lot of vitriol directed at you. But what did you do for the Democrats? You did a pretty big thing for them, correct?
say it again, sir.
What did you do for the Democrats? You entertained at one point for them, right?
I remember being called by the administration, Obama's administration, to host the Secretary of State Defense Freedom Awards for Chuck Hagel, which I did. And by the way, if Hillary Clinton would have won and said, Tony, I want you at the inaugural, I'd have been just as proud. This is a country when we have to come together. Come on. We have to show the world. This is embarrassing to the world.
I think it's embarrassing too. I agree with you. I think that it pushes more hatred. You know, it's like, okay, we can't be adults about this. We have to bow all our petty grievances and have to come out. And, you know, there's a time for that and there's a time to stop it. And I think that you're doing the right thing by going to Washington, doing the vet ball.
Well, you know, Bill.
Go ahead.
Thank you. You know, Bill, you use the word hate. To paraphrase a former president, I think the only thing to hate is hate itself. And we're looking at a hurricane storm of hate coming our way.
Yeah.
And it's disgraceful. I'm sad about it. I love this country. And I love even the people who are able to speak their piece and live and exercise their First Amendment rights.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the protesters as long as it doesn't get out of control. Hey, Tony, we really appreciate you coming on. All right, have a great show on Friday. And you're a real patriot. We come right back. It'll be Miller time. He's got some thoughts on the inauguration. Then Martha McCallum on threats of violence in Washington. Right back.
The O'Reilly Factor, the #1 cable news show for 16 years and counting.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Miller Time segment tonight. The D-Man wants to talk inauguration. Joins us from Santa Barbara, California. So let's start with the Democrats not showing up to the ceremony. What say you?
Well, I'll tell you what, Billy. What I say is this drought is over out here. It's absolutely freezing today. You see, I had to break out the corduroy jacket and the Ugg boots with the shorts.
What an outfit. That really looks good, Miller. And if anybody says it doesn't, they don't know what they're talking about.
All right, back to the matters at hand. I'm not going to the thing because when they said when they threatened the life of Andrea Bocelli, I thought, God, he's blind and he sings beautifully. I can see and I sing like crap. What are they going to do to me? They're going to kill me twice. So I'm not going anywhere near it. As I've said, there are too many loving protesters back there with loving hearts worrying about the future of the country who want you dead if you're not as loving as them.
Do you believe that this whole movement, that's what it is, this movement, to delegitimize Donald Trump is anti-American? Would you say it's that bad?
No, but I'd say it's a bowel movement.
Yes.
Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, you said it, and we'll keep it in. But it's a serious question.
That's a serious answer. It's BS.
Okay.
I didn't think of it.
All right. But, I mean, look,
okay.
these people want to delegitimize the whole election, the whole presidency, and I think, you know, it borders on sedition.
Well, Billy, it's dangerous. I'm on here to do a comedy show, but really, you sense it as much as I.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. I've heard other people say they've never seen anything like this. He hasn't even had a success yet. If he gets successful, can you imagine how crazy it's going to get then? If I was Trump, I would use my head. I would continue tweeting because they're going to tell lies about him 10 times a day. And if he has to come in and use Twitter as the Ben Bradley red pencil and say this is wrong, get better information, I would hope he does it. This country's never been more polarized. Now, Barack Obama's going to move on from this and say, was it my fault? Yeah, it was. You seem like a nice guy, but you're leaving a pretty big, nasty wake behind you, Mr. President. The country's polarized, and that's on you. And I think everybody ought to lay low, be a little chilly. You want to know how bad this is? Hillary Clinton is attending this. And I'm telling you, you know I don't like Hillary Clinton at all. I have to give her kudos, Bill. She knows she has to show up here for some power handoff thing. You know, she realizes symbolically we're in trouble. So for the first time in a long time, I'll say good for you, Hillary Clinton.
Well, she has to go because her husband is a former president. I'm not disparaging her decision to go, but I'm not sure whether she made it or not. It's protocol that the former presidents go, and they are. President Obama, he missed an opportunity today to say exactly what you said. Look, we got to rally around the country right now. We got to stop the hatred. He wouldn't do it. He punted, wouldn't answer the question, and that's not leadership. Last word.
Well, the last word is, who cares if celebrities are there? If I was Trump, I'd hold a big barbecue karaoke night out on the tidal basin, man. Let everybody get up and sing regular. As Obama rescinds up to Olympus, just have regular people down there singing Timothy and all those bad songs.
All right, American
Timothy,
Pie. Yeah.
Timothy, where on earth did you go?
You know, you can lead that karaoke. And Andrew Jackson, if he had known about karaoke, did almost the same thing without karaoke. He just did it with rum. Dennis Miller,
Andrew
everyone.
Dice Jackson.
There you go.
Andrew Dice Jackson.
Martha McCallum on deck. Terrible story. Threats of chaos, possibly violence on Friday. We'll tell you what we know after these messages. Segment tonight, did you see that awful situation? A group called Disrupt J20 threatening violence in Washington on Friday.
We are not in favor of the peaceful transition of power. We need to stop the peaceful transition of power to stop this kind of fascist government coming into power.
Joining us now from Washington, Martha McCallum, along with Britt Baer, will anchor our coverage on Friday. Ms. McCallum has the new program at 7 o'clock. Now, what do we know about this nutty group? Who are these people?
So they're mostly crowdsourced, social media sourced. There's expected to be tens of thousands of them potentially on Friday. They are planning to block there's 12 major checkpoints, entrances to the parade area for the public to enjoy the festivities on Friday. Their goal is to link arms, to block them, to make it impossible to people to get through those checkpoints. And they are saying the parade must be stopped. So that's their goal, to try to lock down the entire thing, Bill.
But the nerve of this guy, do we know who that guy was? Do you know who that guy was?
Yeah, Griff Jenkins has been following this group very closely. He sort of describes them as a group of loosely gathered hippies. This is one of the leaders of this group, who you see, Legba Carafor, who is one of the activists here.
Legba Carafor.
Legba Carafor.
That's not her. Legba's the guy.
You think
the nerve of this guy to say we don't believe in a peaceful transition. That's sedition right there. You can't arrest for speech. But boy, I'd have somebody on this guy. I would have, if I were security in D.C., I'd be following this guy.
3,200 police officers that are coming from across the country to try to allow the peaceful transition of power, as you say, and to try to allow people to go in and enjoy this moment and this transition of government. But these folks are pretty determined.
He doesn't believe in that. Legba wants to cause trouble.
No, he doesn't. Tonight they're having a queer dance party on Mike Pence's front lawn, basically, at the house that he's living in until he moves in at the Naval Observatory to basically protest what they see as his homophobic attitude.
Excellent.
So that's their party for tonight if you want to join in.
Great. All right, now, the irresponsibility doesn't end with the loons. We have congressional people saying insane things. Roll the tape.
There's nothing about him that I would want to be involved with, and certainly the inauguration is a way of welcoming in someone to the presidency and honoring them and respecting them. I don't honor him, I don't respect him, and I don't want to be involved with him.
Now, if a congressperson had said that in 2009 to Barack Obama, they would have been accused of being a racist, hung, all over the place. And it would have been wrong, would have been desperately wrong for anybody to say that about President Obama. But Maxine Waters feels that she can say that about Donald Trump. This, to me, is just irresponsible in the extreme. But again, doesn't really matter what this woman says, because she said crazy things in the past. She'll get reelected, so there's no downside for her.
Yeah. I mean, most of these 66 members of Congress are in districts that they're going to get reelected from, so they don't care. But, it made me think also about Vice President Biden, who admonished Donald Trump for tweeting too much and said he needed to grow up. I think the same advice might apply to some of these individuals, and also to President Obama, who has been, in Donald Trump's words, so gracious and offering help in terms of the transition. Wouldn't it be great if the president today had taken a moment in that news conference and say, you know what, I would really like all of
that's
you to
what we
show
said when we discussed it earlier in the program, that he's still a leader in the country, and
Absolutely.
and to like dodge the question
Speak out.
about this kind of irresponsibility is, I think, irresponsible as well. All right, now Snoop Dogg, you're a big fan. I know you have all his CDs or whatever he puts out.
Of course I do.
I've run into this guy two times over the last couple of years, and he's been very nice to me. He didn't come across as some kind of real crank. But now, I think he's a publicity seeker, and so he did this. Roll it.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you ass gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast one of you Uncle Tom ass for doing it. Which one of you gonna do it first?
So he's disparaging people of color who interact with Donald Trump, just as we reported on yesterday with the Mark Lamont Hill statement of mediocre Negroes. It's the same kind of intimidating stuff. Any blowback on Snoop Dogg?
I looked him up on Twitter. He has 15 million followers. Donald Trump has 20-something. He loves to tout that number. Maybe he's, working on his competitive social media numbers. But I think this is so appalling. And I think that, to argue in favor of tolerance, I guess he's against free speech. He doesn't want people speaking out. He doesn't want people to go to Trump Tower like Jim Brown or Steve Harvey. They're not allowed to do that. So, it's his way or the highway.
Kanye's got a problem with him now. Kanye West. And maybe those two guys can get in a ring. All right, Mark, everybody.
As you point out, Mark Lamont Hill calling them mediocre Negroes is
off the
just.
chart. I want everybody to watch Martha's
Let's
new
hope
program
for something higher.
at 7 p.m. And you'll be anchoring all the inauguration coverage with Brett Baer on Friday.
Will be. Yeah, 11 to 5 on Friday. Looking forward to it. We'll see you here.
Well, I hope they gave you a raise here, McCallum. You know what I'm talking about? A lot of airtime. Back to tip of the day. A new study about what news agency Americans prefer during the presidential campaign. The tip, moments away. Back to tip of the day on news agencies that covered the election in a moment. But first, we have a lot of fun on TheO'Reilly.com every day. And recently, we asked premium members to predict the title of my next book. Mark Rabowski in Canada says, Killing the European Union. Andrew McLeod in Spokane says Killing the Competition, which, by the way, we did again Monday night with more than 6 million viewers. Amazing. And Kenneth Leach, also from Washington State, predicts Killing Journalism, the Rise of Fake News. But for my next opus, I'm not killing anyone. I'm mocking them. On March 28th, a new book will storm America. It's called Old School, Life in the Sane Lane. And I wrote it with my Boston University pal, Bruce Fierstein, author of Real Mandoni Quiche. Book examines the contrasting life views of old school guys like us and snowflakes who will definitely need safe spaces after this book comes out. You can pre-order Old School on TheO'Reilly.com, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I think you'll enjoy it. The next Killing book, by the way, will be out in September. Old School. Now the mail. Charles Salemi, Largo, Florida. My wife and I were taken aback when Stephen A. Smith said Trump made campaign statements that upset blacks. What was he referring to? The genesis of African-American disenchantment with the Trump campaign was the birther stuff. Other than that, the issue is nebulous. Word of the day, nebulous. Andy Samavici, suffer in New York. Bill, your talking points were simplistic. No matter how well Trump may do as president, his detractors will not fall by the wayside. They'll find something, but it won't matter, Andy. Policy success will override personal attacks, as we saw with President Clinton. Trump haters will be talking to themselves if he ignites the economy and fulfills his promises. Leanne Johnson, Thousand Oaks, California. Mr. O, you said President Obama leads the league in getting cut slack. How can you say that when Mitch McConnell and others tried to sabotage him? Let's talk about the media, Leanne, not party politics. Jeff Gardner, Cleveland, Tennessee. Hey, Bill, LL Bean pants won't fit you because you are obviously too big for your britches. Excellent, Jeff. Colbert, Fallon, Kimmel, they need you. They need you desperately to write for them. Gordon Saxton, Colfax, California. Bill, renewed my BillO'Reilly.com premium membership, an easy decision. Really appreciate the free copies of Killing the Rising Sun and the Constitution. Well, you deserve them, Gordon. By the way, you can now get Old School free if you sign up or re-up your premium membership. Finally tonight, the Factor Tip of the Day. New study from the Pew organization asked American voters what news agencies they most used during the presidential campaign. Fox News Channel won easily. 19% say they preferred FNC. CNN 13%, local TV 7%, NBC, MSNBC, ABC tied at 5%, then came CBS at 4%. So once again, it's proven that the Fox News Channel is the trusted source of news in this country. By the way, no newspaper came close, and Facebook clocked in at 8%. So here's the tip of the day. You hear lots of criticism about Fox News, but that's always the case when you're on top. Jealousy reigns. And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, which is different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, we'd like you to spout off about the Factor from anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name and town if you wish to opine. The word of the day, do not be acrid, along with do not be nebulous. Got two words of the day, acrid and nebulous. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to suggest what Donald Trump might say in his big speech on Friday. That should be interesting. I don't know why I do these things, but they're fun. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Please remember, this spin stops here, so we're definitely looking out for you.